The general state of insecurity in Nigeria has reflected in incidences of Boko Haram insurgency, banditry, farmers and herders clashes, ethno-religious clashes and intolerance, drug addiction, cultism, rape, and kidnapping for ransom, and now triggering serious concerns, even as the federal government is continuing its onslaught of ridding the country of perpetrators of these ugly trends to ensure the safety and unity of Nigeria and Nigerians. But there are questions still begging for answers. For example, how did the cases of insecurity get to this point? Where did we get it wrong? How far and how well has the government and security agencies gone in addressing the challenges? What is the way forward for the country, especially with rising cases and calls for secession in some quarters? On Weekend File tonight, we will attempt to find the answers to these all-important questions as we look at insecurity and the threat to national unity. And of course, find out whether or not citizens have a part to play in untangling the strands of the seemingly growing menaces. Welcome to the program. I am Joseph Johnson, and for tonight, my guest is Professor Kabir Mato of the Department of Political Science, University of Abuja, and he will be joining me live during the discussion segment. Thank you for always keeping a date with us. As always, the news comes first. The temporary suspension of Twitter is not just a response to the removal of the president's post. Presidency clears the air. The presidential statement says there has been many problems with the social media platform in Nigeria, where misinformation and fake news spread through it have had real-world violent consequences. Nevertheless, the removal of President Buhari's tweet was disappointing. The censoring seemed based on a misunderstanding of the challenges Nigeria faces today. The president, in his address at the United Nations General Assembly in 2019 said, quote, "The world was shocked and startled by the massacre in New Zealand by a lone gunman taking the lives of 50 worshippers. These and similar crimes, which have been fueled by social media networks, risk seeping into the fabric of an emerging digital culture." Statement adds that a terrorist organization, IPOB, poses a significant threat to the safety and security of Nigerian citizens. When the president said that they will be treated, quote, "in a language they understand," he merely reiterated that their foes shall be met with force. It is a basic principle of security services response the world over. Now, this is not promotion of hate, but a pledge to uphold citizens' right to freedom from harm. The government cannot be expected to capitulate to terrorists. IPOB is prescribed under Nigerian law. Its members murder innocent Nigerians. They kill policemen and set government property on fire. Now they have amassed a substantial stockpile of weapons and bombs across the country. Twitter does not seem to appreciate the national trauma of our country's civil war. This government shall not allow a recurrence of that tragedy, presidency warns. An Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami has directed for immediate prosecution of offenders of the federal government's ban on Twitter operations in Nigeria. The minister mandated the Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation to swing into action and commence in earnest the process of prosecuting of violators of the federal government deactivation of operations of Twitter in Nigeria. Malami directed the department to liaise with the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, National Communications Commission and other relevant government agencies to ensure the speedy prosecution of offenders without any further delay. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress has urged Nigerians talented in the development of social media and software applications to seize the opportunity of the suspension of Twitter operations in the country to develop homegrown applications that can rival existing social media platforms and meet the need of Nigerians. The APC, in a statement by John James Akpan Odaidege, its National Secretary Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, believes that the country has the potentials and talents that can develop alternative and competitive applications to existing platforms in the world. The APC challenged Twitter and other operators of social media pages, to use their platforms to check divisive and inciting rhetorics to curb fake news, disinformation, hate speech, among others in Nigeria. Now let's turn our attention to some of the day's other news for you. Nigeria's government on Friday said it has suspended indefinitely the operations of the micro-blogging and social networking service Twitter in Nigeria. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed announced the suspension in a statement issued by his office in Abuja. Let's take that story now.
Information and Culture Minister, while briefing the Kano State Governor on the merits of the digitization project, said it is a global project initiated by the International Telecommunications Union, which Nigeria lost its switchover plan twice. But with the commitment of the present administration, it has been able to launch the project and it's progressing steadily. With Lagos and Kano being highly populated states, they are very central to the success of the switchover project.
After Lagos, for us, the next place is Kano. Kano is not like any other place. Kano is important to us, not just only for the population, but also because of Kannywood.
On revenue generation, local governments, the minister said, are in for a good deal as it will help in their revenue generation drive.
Any household, sir, where there's that set-top box, automatically sends to the headquarters, captures the number, the telephone, and the identity of the owner. So if he does not pay his tax, you simply block it.
Governor Ganduje on his part said Kano State has fully embraced the project.
So we assure you that we will be in the forefront in the implementation of this digital change, and you will see the change.
He assured the minister that the people of Kano will no doubt accept the new development as it will assist government in reaching the people, especially at the grassroots. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
We're sorry about the mix-up there. That was actually a story where Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed expressed satisfaction with the acceptance of Kano State government to fully support the digital switchover for the state. And of course, as reported by Anthony Forson. And moving on now. The national public hearing on the review of the 1999 Constitution at the instance of the Senate has ended with a call on stakeholders to use the opportunity and amend the Constitution in the best interest of the nation. Chairman of the committee, Ovie Omo Agege, said this at the conclusion of the legislative exercise. John Yaku has details.
Apart from the 16 points agenda listed for consideration during the public hearing, the committee also made provisions for other issues raised by the various interest groups.
We're asking that the independence of INEC should be properly established in the Constitution.
Review the Constitution and include safety and safe operation of farmers and others businesses. Both parties should exist.
Make the National Assembly either unicameral, do away with 360 members, retain 109 senators, 3 senators per state, or make the National Assembly part-time sitting, so that whenever they sit, they have sitting allowance.
We should have state police, and Braddock support state police.
We cannot have a totally new constitution. The law does not grant us the powers to do that. What Section 9 of the Constitution grants us power to do is amendment to the existing provisions.
Other emerging issues at the hearing were for the FCT to be given the status of a state, as well as grant Nigerians in the diaspora the opportunity to participate in future elections in the country.
Now they are becoming an investment factor in Nigeria. We cannot ignore them. And they say they want to vote, and they hope that the National Assembly will make that possible.
Chairman of the committee assured the people that the 9th National Assembly will consider all the views expressed by Nigerians.
So for those who have a problem with that, this is the opportunity we provided to make the alteration a people's alteration.
He said the committee is open to receiving more memoranda on the constitutional amendment process that will further promote the unity of the country. In Abuja, John Yaku, NTA News.
Now, the 2021 World Environment Day program, organized by the Federal Ministry of Environment, was commemorated in Osogbo, Osun State. It is celebrated every 5th of June by the United Nations to raise awareness on the importance of the environment to human survival and general well-being of the planet. Femi Afariogun reports that the theme for this year's World Environment Day is ecosystem restoration, resetting our relationship with nature.
It has been the norm for Federal Ministry of Environment to celebrate World Environment Day in the Federal Capital Territory. However, for the first time, Osogbo in Osun State was picked as the venue for this year's celebration, and the target is to further spread the message of the alarming rate of deforestation, standing at between 3.7 to 4%, and the urgent need to arrest the situation and restore the ecosystem. Minister of Environment Muhammad Abubakar says environmental degradation and biodiversity loss, deforestation, desertification, climate change, and recently COVID-19 pandemic as challenges and underlying factors for overpopulation, poverty, and insecurity.
The need for urgent collective step-up action by everyone, irrespective of social status, religion, and political leaning, for drastic restoration of our God-given natural ecosystem is crucial, while as government, we will not fail to provide every necessary support required to ensure that we are all in harmony with nature.
The government of the state of Osun has commenced planting of trees to revise the status of degraded forest.
Stakeholders want federal government to take drastic steps to protect the ecosystem.
Without trees and without forest, the world will be nasty, it will be brutish, and it will be short.
There was a symbolic tree planting and inauguration of 4 hectares plantation park by the Minister of Environment at Ido-Osun in Osogbo. Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
In continuation of its emergency repairs and maintenance of bridges across the country, the federal government has closed a section of a core bridge for 9 weeks. The development is to pave way for the replacement of 3 expansion joints and 4 bearings. Michael Olale reports.
One after the other, the concrete barriers were arranged at the diversion points to signal the commencement of the 9 weeks repairs. It was an unexpected experience for some motorists caught in the web.
The hold up don't hook me. I don't did back since almost 1 hour, one and a half hours.
For Raphael Iludun, it is a case of getting caught by one's fear. He passed the night at his office to escape traffic, only to end up here.
I didn't expect this, and that's why my car is overheating.
Although some challenging days ahead, but the Federal Ministry of Works has drawn up a robust traffic diversion plan to ease mobility.
From here now you divert, that is you wrap down to Costain, you now follow the roundabout, you enter the Igamu, from Igamu you enter Abebe. Once everybody is lane discipline, definitely there's not going to be too much hardship on the road.
The contractor handling the project is mindful that time is of essence, but equally concerned about the longevity of the bridge once repairs is completed.
The expansion joint, we are putting a new expansion joint of finger type and rubber type. So all this, the time span, lifetime span, it all depends on the use of the bridge.
The repairs cover Costain to Alaka section in Ward Surulere in Lagos. Michael Olale, NTA News.
In the meantime, following the recent success in the construction of seaworld defense boats, the Nigerian Navy is now on the verge of building for export naval ships for other countries. Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Awal Gambo stated this during a familiarization tour of the Nigerian Navy Premier Logistics Facility, the Naval Dockyard Limited in Lagos. Adeni Taiwo completes the report.
The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo's visit to the Naval Dockyard Limited, NDL, Lagos, is part of his familiarization tour of facilities and naval assets across the country since he assumed office. Of particular interest to him, as he was led on the tour of the facility by the Admiral Superintendent of the Naval Dockyard, Rear Admiral Levi, is the progress so far made in the design and construction of a 43-meter-long seaworld defense boat 3. With this progress in its shipbuilding capacity, Vice Admiral Gambo is certain that the Naval Dockyard will soon commence construction of ships for other countries.
Because we are in partnership with the Bureau Veritas, which is an international shipbuilding certification company, which means once they certify SDB3, we should be able to build ships for any country in the world.
To further boost Nigeria's capacity for offensive and rescue operations at sea, a new landing ship tank, LST, will be commissioned for the Nigerian Navy in Dubai, United Arab Emirates on Monday.
They will get our Ministry of Defense full support to up their game.
Acquired by the Nigerian government in 1965 and fully commercialized in 2013, the Naval Dockyard Limited, Lagos, serves as the logistic facility of the Nigerian Navy, maintaining both naval and merchant fleet and designing new seagoing ships. In Lagos, Adeni Taiwo, NTA News.
The daily lives of the family of the children abducted at an Islamia school in Tegina, Rafi local government area of Niger State is a mixture of pains and high hopes. Abdullahi Mohammed examines the mood in the town and homes of some of the families of the abductees.
It's another day in Tegina. Grains processing, fixed to a television set, as well as a savour of a tasty orange, giving a picture of a town picking up. Miles away from Tegina town is a village known as Guinea. That's where some families with the highest number of abductees reside. We met a few of them who have 2-3 children held captive. But we zero in on Malam Aliyu. 5 of his children are among the 136 held. Though shaken, his family remains hopeful, with their lips uttering the names of their children in captivity.
Nana Pidos Aliyu, Sadiqa Aliyu, Sadiq Aliyu.
His 2 sons, Mustafa and Ismail, escaped the abduction by the whiskers. Their ordeal in the hands of the bandits is an ugly one. Back in Tegina, we visited the house of Ado, the father of Ibrahim, one of the abductees.
The mother of Ibrahim, one of the abductees, could not bear the news of his abduction.
Within 15 minutes, she died.
Abubakar Garba, the school's headmaster, is a point of solace for many of the families of the abductees.
Some are coming to know the whereabouts of their children, but I don't have anywhere to go and complain. I don't have anybody to go and meet to ask of my children, because I am the headmaster. So people are coming to ask of their 1 or 2 children. But if I should ask someone about my children, I will ask of 140-something children, because they are all my children. All of them are under me. They are under my care.
Just like Dahiru Badaka plants seeds on his farm with hopes of a blossoming season, so the case of the families of the abductees, hoping their children will be back soon. In Tegina, Rafi local government area of Niger State, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
Government is not and will not shy away from its responsibility of providing safety to schools and education standards in the country. This is coming from the Ministry of Education after the Common Entrance Examination conducted by the National Examination Council (NECO) held in all states of the nation today for admission into the nation's unity schools. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry monitored the examination in some schools within and in the outskirts of Abuja.
The federal schools are actually more secure than most others. We can assure you that even as when your kids are with us, we will do everything possible. We have 3 layers of security we've established for all the federal unity colleges now. We want parents to please allow their kids, let them know this country, let them meet other people.
Close to 7,000 candidates wrote the examination, majority of whom were females, with Lagos, FCT, Anambra, Zamfara State topping in the number of candidates. Results are expected soon. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says his ministry will continue to embrace programs and projects initiated by UNESCO. The minister stated this when he granted audience to Nigeria's ambassador and permanent delegate to the organization. Anthony Fulson reports.
Dr. Hajosani is visiting the Minister of Information and Culture for the first time after her appointment. The Information and Culture Minister wasted no time in assuring Dr. Hajosani of his ministry's readiness to get even with programs and projects of UNESCO, knowing how impactful they are to humanity.
On our own here, we have done a lot of work in both the culture and the information sector of the ministry that would need the assistance of the UNESCO.
Expressing satisfaction with the role UNESCO is playing to support creativity, which is Nigeria's area of strength in contributing to the growth of its economy, Lai Mohammed said the sector is a huge revenue earner but was badly affected by COVID-19.
No industry has suffered as much as the creative industry. Talking about culture, talking about tourism, talking about hospitality. Because one of the first things that most governments did was to restrict both domestic and international travel.
Dr. Hajosani, who equally expressed gratitude to the minister for his assurances, solicited the minister's support for the re-election of the UNESCO Director General and the acceptance by Nigeria to host the next Global Media Information Week.
We also want to discuss with the Honorable Minister to reinforce the mobilization of the different parastatals, the agencies and academia and individual experts working in different areas of UNESCO intergovernmental committees to be more involved in the work of the UNESCO.
In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari rejoices with General Superintendent of Deeper Christian Life Ministry, Pastor William Folorunsho Kumuyi, as he turns 80 June 6, 2021. The President felicitates with the family of the renowned preacher, members of the Deeper Life Bible Church and Christendom in general, wishing the spiritual general greater service to God and humanity in good health and sound mind. President Buhari recalls his 2018 meeting with Pastor Kumuyi and wife Esther at the presidential villa Abuja, the warmth they radiated and their love and prayers for the country, urging younger preachers to take a cue as Pastor Kumuyi preaches the milestones. The President prays that his vision for the country will be realized and the works of his hands will continue to prosper. And President Muhammadu Buhari Saturday described the late Dr. Joseph Nwodu as, quote, one of the leading lights of the legal profession at burial ceremony of the deceased held in Enugu State. The president was represented at the ceremony by a presidential delegation led by Dr. Chris Ngige, Minister of Labour and Employment, accompanied by Mr. Geoffrey Oyemba, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Femi Adesina, Special Advisor to the President on Media and Public publicity and others. President Buhari recalls that with the deceased towering stature as a great giver and philanthropist and servant of the people, he will find eternal rest. Dr. Nwodu passed away recently at the age of 77. You're watching Weekend File. Let's take some messages, and when we return, we'll head straight to the subject of the program.
Primary Healthcare Development Agency welcomes Their Excellencies, the 6 executive governors from the Northeast Geopolitical Zone of Nigeria, to its COVID-19 town hall meeting. We also heartily welcome the distinguished Senator Chukwuka Utazi, Senate Committee Chairman, Primary Healthcare and Communicable Diseases, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, Chairman, House Committee on Health, Dr. Haruna Mishelia, Chairman, House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19, and all National Assembly members from Adamawa State to the town hall meeting. The meeting is also honored to welcome the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman, Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, Mr. Boss Mustafa, Dr. Osage Ehanire, the Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Olorunibe Mamora, the Honorable Minister of State for Health, their Royal Highnesses, Chairman, Councils of Chiefs from the Northeast Zone, traditional and religious leaders, as well as other stakeholders in the zone, to an interactive session to discuss COVID-19 vaccination in Nigeria. Date Tuesday, 8 June 2021. Venue, Banquet Hall, Government House, Yola. Time, 9:30 a.m. prompt. Dr. Faisal Shwaib, Executive Director, CEO, NPHCDA, Announcer.
The Federal Ministry of Information and Culture cordially invites the general public to our town hall meeting with the theme Addressing Destruction of Public Infrastructure. This event is scheduled to hold on Monday, June 7, 2021 at the Nigerian Air Force Conference Center, NAV, along Banex Jabi Road, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. This event will be covered live on the network services of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, News Agency of Nigeria, NAN, and other media outfits. It will also be live streamed on social media, courtesy of the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Guests expected at the event are the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing, the Honorable Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Minister of Aviation, Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, among others. Meeting will be in compliance with COVID-19 protocols. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development wishes to inform NPower Batch C Stream 1 applicants that the Ministry has commenced the next stage of their enrollment. It is in view of the aforementioned that the Ministry is requesting the shortlisted applicants to check their respective email addresses for confirmation, and for further information, visit www.nasims.gov.ng, follow the instructions and enroll their biometric data. For inquiries, applicants are requested to contact the dedicated NPower helplines 01-8888-340 or email support.npower@nasims.gov.ng. Announcer Bashir Noral Alkali, Permanent Secretary.
We're starting the happiness movement with Molfix.
For baby's happiness, it is important to choose a dry diaper because with a dry diaper, babies do not have rash and are comfortable.
Nigeria's #1 choice of mothers, Molfix Air Dry, has the dryness all the mothers dream of because it's ultra absorbent and ultra breathable, so it stays dry and does not leak. Our babies do not have rash. Come on, mothers, try Molfix and join our happiness movement.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
You're watching Weekend File with me, Joseph Johnson. Police is your friend, a common saying. But how is this friendship faring lately? Mia Ogidi in this report interrogates the sincerity of this friendship and how INEC, being the last hope of democracy, is also sustaining its position from those the Commission serves.
Their presence comes with a deep sense of security for the civilian. That spirit that a friend is around.
There's no greater love than for a man to lay his life for the sake of another. And in taking that all, for me, that's the highest definition of friendship.
But the bond of friendship is collapsing.
You go out there, carry out attack on police officers. If you continue to do that, then certainly you will not be qualified to be our friends.
Instead of giving to the police information, some are setting them on fire.
It's impossible for criminals to exist in a community, and yet the community are claiming they do not know. That does not work. But because the people will be docile and say, take some excuses to say that after all, the police are not going to cover me up, they're going to expose me.
This is not something that can be left in the hands of the security agency alone. You and I can assist. We can combat it together. Because whenever you notice a particular thing and inform the authorities that be, action will be taken to that very place. In that case, you have succeeded in contributing your own quota.
At the last count, 67 policemen killed, 52 police formations burnt down, several correctional centers attacked, inmates freed in the south-south and southeastern parts of the country, and 11 military officers maimed in Benue State.
Take the bottle to their doorsteps and make a clear statement that the few deviants within us cannot and will not reorder our cherished national values.
Sharing a common story in unpleasant circumstances, the INEC and the police story.
To disrupt the electoral process is to undermine our democracy and destabilize the nation.
The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood, is not in a good mood. 42 INEC offices and materials from flames to ashes.
Indeed, these attacks on the Commission's facilities should now be treated as a national security emergency.
Great threat to national security and democracy, but diverse voices making a good chorus.
We are confronted by common problems, so we must get together, discuss these things as reasonably, as maturely as we can, and come out with solutions.
It is incumbent upon every single Nigerian, no matter what you believe in, no matter where you come from, no matter your religious faith, to resist this and to come together and to say, no, we may have our differences, we may disagree, we may not even like each other so much, but at the end of the day, we will not go into war. We will stand together, we will resolve our problems on the basis of peace.
Not only INEC and police formations are the victims, but innocent citizens also falling into the sharp knives and ruthless guns of the hoodlums. Mia Ogidi.
In Lagos, state aftermath of the NSAS crisis is guiding residents to be more vigilant to keep at bay any security threat while taking ownership of public infrastructure. Michael Olale reports that even as those who suffer huge losses during the crisis struggle to be back on their feet, experts are advocating greater citizenship responsibility to return the nation to the path of peace and unity.
It's exactly 8 months that the NSAS protest brought a new dimension to crime and criminality.
But not because it was lockdown, we couldn't lock down, of course, we couldn't come out.
Nkechi Olise was a victim of the wanton destruction that fateful day, and about 10.2 million naira investments went down the drain within the twinkle of an eye. She seems to be back in business, but recuperating is slow.
Nothing good came out of it. Sales girls working here, they all lost their job for some months.
Nkechi's pathetic experience is just one of the countless waves of destruction left in the wake of the NSAS protest in Lagos, the nation's commercial nerve center that accounts for 30% of the total GDP.
Unfortunately, it's undoing the
the remaining structures that we could utilize. You remember after the NSAS, it became very difficult to report a case at the police station or even see the responses of the police in petty issues that could destabilize civilian entities, because there are people that we need. These security agencies, no matter how little support.
Time, although a healing therapy, has done a little to return the court premises in Obalinde, the BRT terminal in Onyibo, and the various police stations burnt to their original form. In the midst of this, the entire budget size of the Lagos State government for 2021 is a little above 1 trillion naira, an amount that is not sufficient to ameliorate the NSAS losses if government should prioritize rehabilitation and reconstruction.
Immediately after that incident happened, Lagos State government came out to say that about 1 trillion naira worth of investment was lost, and that is just a fraction of what they can actually capture. You understand? Money that are supposed to be directed into other economic, activities that will impact positively on the populace will now be directed in revamping or rehabilitating those destroyed assets.
The aftermath of the NSAS crisis is just a credence to the cautionary counsel that where two elephants fight, the grass, they say, suffers.
We have no other country than Nigeria. Nigerians must be patriotic to the country. Look, the truth of the matter is that no matter how rich you are or no matter how poor you are, your country remains your country. It's paramount that you must love that country. You must do everything to ensure that that country progress and remain in peace.
Experts say issues of national security and unity should be seen as everybody's business, since the resultant breakdown of peace will be largely felt by all. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
Let's expand the deliberations now, as I have with me in the studio my guest to do just that. He is a professor of political science, Kabiru Mato. Professor, you're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
All right, so the state of insecurity in Nigeria, many say, is precarious. How did we get here?
Well, that's a matter that I think would be ideal for symposium discussion. But be that as it may, I think what we face today as a nation is rather a culmination of a lot of activities that have happened over a very long period of time. I don't want to drag us down the history lane over a very long period of time. But in political theory, we do believe sincerely that wherever you have social insurrection, somewhere very near, you'll find social inequities and social injustice permeating within the very strata of the society. So I want to think that the crisis that we're facing as a nation today, as far as security is concerned, has been built up over a very long period of time, and unfortunately is rearing its ugly head today. And I want to think that therefore the onus lies on not just the state but the citizens of this country to do everything that is humanly possible to try to address it.
Before we go neck deep into addressing these issues, and that's why I wanted more like a background to, I mean, how did we get to this point? But in any case, fighting insecurity has been one of the priority areas of the current administration from the start. How much of that would you say has been achieved so far?
Well, you see, the problem is that of gargantuan proportion. It has been deeply rooted in the society over a very long time, and therefore any efficient methodology that government will put in place in order to address it will substantially be dependent on how much the rest of the society is prepared to tally along in order to be able to address this hydrated monster that is staring us, that is continually making life very unbearable to the majority of the citizens of this country, who are fortunately or unfortunately law abiding. We have come over a very long period of time from a situation of abject neglect on the part of the successive Nigerian states, to the extent that we faced a very serious, dilapidation as far as social, physical, and other forms of infrastructure are concerned in this country. And so there is this apprehension, especially if you take the population of Nigeria, for instance, we are estimated to be about 200 million people, and between 70 to 75% of this number actually falls below the ages of 35. And if you are talking about that, therefore, it takes you down to the very specific area of understanding the fact that more than 70% of the population of this country today does not have any idea of the protracted struggles that citizens have put in place in order to have this civil democratic dispensation that we have on ground. They simply a product of this age with the influence of social media, absence of history in our primary and secondary schools, and so on. So we are breeding a population of young people that do not know where they are coming from and where they are and where they want to go to. Their attitudes, their behaviors are always dictated and determined by what they read or they watch. They read on the social media, or what they watch on the social media, and so on and so forth. So we are really in a very precarious situation that any attempt on the part of the state to address the endemic state of insecurity in this country will have to be massively, supported and assisted by the citizens. And unfortunately, the reality seems to suggest otherwise. Perhaps politics, perhaps, the heterogeneous nature of the Nigerian society.
We were certainly going to look at possible areas how to, stem the insecurity tide. But then let's just take some messages. And when we come back, we have lots to talk about. Stay with us.
You can now buy and register a new Airtel SIM card and enjoy 8 times bonus on all your recharges. Visit any certified Airtel shop today with your NIN and get instant double data and 8 times bonus on every recharge. If you don't have NIN, you can also register for it at the Airtel shop. This offer is available to all new Airtel customers.
Airtel, the smartphone network. Revision classes on television for students in secondary schools in English and mathematics will commence on the NTA. The revision classes will transmit Mondays to Fridays from 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. on the network service of the NTA. This is organized in preparation for the various national examinations and orders. This is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Education.
On Tuesday Live, our focus is on reviving grazing and forest reserve to enhance food security and sustainable economy. Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Don't miss it.
Thank you for staying with us. Experience has shown that any effort to grow a nation would most likely fail if insecurity persists. This is because the nation's economy will be at stake. In this report, Adebola Brookslyn Sunday takes a look at insecurity which is facing the nation from all fronts.
The primary duty of government, many agree, is to ensure the security of lives and property of the citizens as guaranteed by the law. The nation has been witnessing for some time now what many called unprecedented security challenges, occasioned by the activities of militants in the South-South, kidnappers in the Southeast, armed robbery, political assassination, and kidnapping in almost all parts of the country.
I know that what they are doing will soon come to an end. I understand as well that some advanced technical equipment are being imported to help to reinforce their own efforts. So for me, it is a phase, but a very unfortunate phase.
The question now is, what happens when the same people that are being provided for choose to destroy what logically belongs to them in the name of expressing grievances?
Whatever infrastructure that is put in place, it's not the person in seat that has that property. The property belongs to Nigerians, and in particular to yourself. So those who destroy government assets, infrastructure, I think they are misled or they don't understand it.
Comfort Otera Chigwe, a legal practitioner, one of the contributors to the amendment of the 1999 Constitution, said dialogue is always better than war.
The ideal thing is that we maintain a stable and friendly environment. We need to accept that whatever we have in place should be maintained and should be preserved rather than destruction.
People will know them. The people see them.
Rear Admiral Okon Edet Ayo said information sharing with security agents will fast-track the anticipated victory.
Getting the people behind the military is very important. In fact, I don't know of any military that has won any operations, any conflicts without the people rallying behind the military. So we need our people. And especially in this asymmetric environment, the people we are fighting, they are not conventional opposition.
Disruption of economic activities, decimation of consumer confidence, and decrease in foreign direct investments are some of the highlighted consequences of insecurity globally. Adebola, Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
All right, I still have a professor of political science, Kabiru Mato, with me, and let's get talking now. Let's talk about how these vices impact the unity of the country, because I recall that the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed at a town hall meeting on national security, I think in Kaduna or so, warned that insecurity and its manifestations pose a dangerous threat to the unity of the country. Do you agree, and how so?
Well, of course, that's a very, obvious statement. It's a fact. There is, no way you can controvert that statement. You see, but the problem with the insecurity we face in this country is multifaceted, but mainly three dimensions. One is the insurgency that started about a decade or so ago from the northeastern part of the country, and the rest of Nigeria kept mute, thinking that it was a localized problem that was limited only to Borno space. Not sooner than, everybody was looking the other way, it became a northeastern affair, and eventually northwest and, the rest of Nigeria. Now, banditry and kidnappings, which forms the second dimension of insecurity we are facing at the, was an exclusive, preserve of certain sections of this country until recently, that it reared its ugly heads in the northwestern part of this country and is now assuming also a national dimension. The third is, of course, the politically motivated dimension, which, of course, is agitation that comes, from the southeastern part of the country. And people who ordinarily ought to have, uttered some powerful words in order to discourage the perpetrators of this, antisocial activity, unfortunately, for fear of either being consumed, by the militancy of these agitations, are keeping quiet. Now, at the end of it, Nigeria is boxed in a very dangerous scenario where we see and we're afraid of talking, and then we keep quiet, and then within a short possible of time, you'll be able to see that the crisis is, is overtaking the entire territory. And so these are the three major dimensions of the national insecurity that we are facing today, which requires tremendous effort on the part of government through the instrumentality of, its national security apparatuses. Yes. But just like the naval general was saying a few minutes ago, it's impossible for the military or even the police to be able to achieve, any success in war against any sort of crime or criminal activities without the active support of the people around.
But talking about that apparatuses, I read somewhere on one of the national dailies a ridiculous statement that, in a way, saying that the insurgents, comparatively have more sophisticated weapons compared to the Nigerian security forces. So how would you say that the Nigerian security forces are combat ready? Do they have, the procurement of and access to sophisticated military equipment and weaponry?
Of course, I think they do. If they do not, then the level of destruction that we are facing in this country will have been far worse than we see it today. And it's unfortunate. Again, this explains the tragedy of the Nigerian situation, where citizens are always eager, to report about the negatives rather than the positives. I thought this is a war not just on a certain specific section or individuals within the country, but afflicting the pains of, virtually every dimension to every Nigerian, be you in the northeast, in the northwest, the southeast, or the southern part of this country.
Okay.
And so what we need to do actually is for everybody to realize that the peaceful existence of your neighbor is invariably your own peaceful existence. So if you think that he is in trouble today and you are safe, then obviously by the time he's consumed today, it's going to get over you tomorrow. And I think that is one of the vestiges and the difficulties that, the globe will have to continue to manage. Yes, the negative impact of social media proliferations.
Okay, you just a few seconds ago, you talked about citizens. I want to, turn to that angle now.
Yeah.
Do citizens have a role to play in fighting insecurity?
In fact, citizens have more powerful roles to play than even the military officials that are holding guns. It is the responsibility of the citizens, because the criminals are part and parcel of our societies, our communities. We know a lot of them. But there is this unwillingness, either as a result of fear or for any other reason, for people to try to cover up.
And is it not justifiable? I mean, how protected is a person who sees something and says something at the end of the day?
If the community will stand against it, it's a community effort. No single individual or a few members of the community can be more powerful than the rest of the community. So I think it's about a resolution on the part of the citizens, to want to come out and support the law enforcement agencies in ridding the nation of this menace that we are facing at the moment.
Thank you. I'm afraid we've just run out of time. We had more to talk about, but let's just leave it there for now. Professor of Political Science, Kabiru Matu, it's really been a pleasure, talking with you and explaining all that to us.
Thank you very much.
All right, time for a break. Stay with us.
My name is Osage Ehanere. I am Minister of Health. We have just taken the vaccine. It is the AstraZeneca vaccine. This vaccine is safe, properly researched. It is in use in many countries. We urge all Nigerians to submit themselves to taking this vaccine, persons who are 18 years old above. Otherwise, it is safe. You take your second dose after a period of about 10 to 12 weeks, and then you have immunity. Nigeria is aiming to vaccinate 70% of our population, and therefore be one of that 70% to give us herd immunity. Herd immunity means that Nigerians will not easily become infected even if they get in contact with the coronavirus.
Let's bring you sports now with Bade. Bade.